In this video, we will be building a lowering or mainline system for the high-angle rescue environment. A lowering system is a rope system intended to control the descent of a rescue load in a controlled manner. AMRC builds their lowering system with a pre-built radium release hitch, an 8mm Blue Water VT prusik, a 60cm sling or an 8mm prusik, a rigging plate, an ATC, and 3 locking carabiners. You will also need an 11mm rope that will be connected to the load. First, assess your anchor and make sure that it is appropriate for the anticipated loads that will be placed on it. Here we have a single point frost knot. It is an appropriate angle. Its tails are oriented up towards what we are anchored to. It has 2 legs and 3 loops in the master point. Attach a locking carabiner to the master point, clipping down and away from you and then rolling it up for easy access. Take the rigging plate and attach it to the anchor. Lock the carabiner. Attach the radium release hitch to the first hole in the rigging plate, making sure that the munter side is attached to the anchor. Make sure your carabiner is locked. Next, take the sling and thread it through the middle hole of the rigging plate to make a basket anchor. Attach the ATC to the sling with a locking carabiner. Attach another locking carabiner to the last hole in the rigging plate, clipping down and away from you and then rolling it up for easy access. Next, take the end of the 11mm rope that will be connected to the load. This load strand is pre-rigged with a bowline with a long tail, a rigging plate, and a figure 8 on a bight. Take the bowline to the point at which the knot and litter bridle will transition over the edge and no further. This is known as the plumb point. Next, take the Blue Water VT prusik and tie it onto your rope with a 6/1 asymmetrical prusik. Count to make sure that you have the 6 wraps oriented towards the load and the 1 wrap oriented towards the anchor. Attach both eyes of the asymmetrical prusik to the lower carabiner on the radium release hitch, making sure that it is locked. At this point, you have a system that can act as a belay. Take a bight of rope and insert it into the ATC. Make sure that the brake strand is running through the high friction side. Attach the ATC to the carabiner on the basket anchor. Make sure that the carabiner is locked. Clip the brake strand through the redirect carabiner, creating a bight around the carabiner to increase friction for the operator. Make sure that the carabiner is locked. To tie off the system, take the brake strand at the redirect carabiner and tie it off with the mule hitch, followed by an overhand, on the strand running between the redirect carabiner and the ATC. Check your anchor and make sure that it is appropriate for the anticipated loads that will be placed on it. On this single point frost knot, check to make sure that the angle is appropriate, that the 2 tails are coming out of the knot pointing towards what you are anchored to, and that the 8mm cord is doubled, giving you 2 legs in the anchor. Because there are 2 legs, check that there are 3 loops in the master point. Check that the rigging plate is attached to the anchor with a locked carabiner. Following the system down, safety check the radium release hitch. Make sure that it is attached to the rigging plate with a locked carabiner. On the HMS locking carabiner, check to make sure that there is a figure 8 on a bight loose on the spine, therefore closing the system. Check that there is a bight over the carabiner, giving us 2 strands. Check that there is a munter that is oriented towards the gate and that it is in the lowering orientation. Make sure that the radium is tied off with a mule hitch, followed by an overhand. Make sure that the tail is secured with an easy-to-release daisy chain, which is started through the loop of the overhand. On the non-HMS locking carabiner, check to make sure that the end of the cord is attached to the carabiner with a figure 8 on a bight. Then, there should be a bight of cord creating 2 strands of cord running up, resulting in an ideal 3-to-1 mechanical advantage. Make sure that the lower carabiner of the radium release is locked and attached to both eyes of the asymmetrical prusik. Next, check to make sure that the Blue Water 8mm VT is tied correctly with a 6/1 prusik. Make sure that the 6 strands are oriented towards the load line and the 1 wrap oriented towards the anchor. Moving over, check to make sure that the rope is running through the ATC on high friction mode and is attached to the sling with a locked carabiner. Make sure that the sling is connected to the rigging plate with a basket anchor. Next, check to make sure that the brake strand runs through the redirect carabiner. Make sure that it is locked. Make sure that your system is tied off with a mule hitch and overhand on the strand running between the redirect carabiner and the ATC to allow you to go hands-free. Your system is now complete and ready to begin operations.